Okay, everybody. Looks like we are all set here. So good morning to everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome back to another Engineering the Markets. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Jared, and it is January 30th, 2023. So as I was kind of mentioning last week, usually the first month of the year tends to kind of fly by pretty fast. At least that's how it feels for myself. Market has been, I think, kind of beating some estimations and some expectations for a lot of the 2022 mindset that we've come from. The fact that a lot of our rallies have at one time or another failed, and just the persistent grind that we can feel as we're leading into something significant. So most people are, of course, looking for secondary sort of waves of selling, looking for that bear market type rally to end. And as we continue to grind and as we continue to push, obviously trying to find the end of trends is quite difficult simply because we're scouting for tops. That's always going to be challenging because it's very easy to be wrong. You just have to print a little bit higher and then you're wrong. So as we kind of look at the market structure and as we look at our S&P expected move for the week, this is something we of course do every week. We're looking at the weekly option series for the expected move, and we're trying to understand what the indice for the S&P 500 is pricing as far as the week's volatility, along with how can we use that information. Last week, if we look back, we can see that on Thursday and Friday, we had what's known as an expected move breach and breakout. Usually whenever the indice can close outside of the expected move, especially close to the Friday. Friday is kind of when the option market experiences the most gamma exposure and just overall pricing risk for the market makers to get a handle of. Anytime that happens near the end of the week, that's when things can get a little bit messy. And this is both true for breaches to the upside and breaches to the downside. But last week, the S&P was pricing only about 73 points of expected movement. And this was amidst a lot of key tech earnings. We had names like Microsoft and some of the sympathy reactions coming from Amazon, along with Tesla. Maybe not as high impact as it used to be from a market cap perspective, but definitely one of the most volatile products in the S&P 500. And we certainly saw how that volatility came to a head on Friday. So a relatively small expected move given what was coming in the week. These are all known catalysts, so the option market should be attempting to price in that volatility as best as possible. And now we step into a new week. The weekly expected move for this week is about 94.4, so plus or minus 95 for some of the rounding up errors. That leaves our topside expected move at about 41.65 and our downside at 39.76. Now, as we often like to do, we like to look at this both relative from last week. So sort of where can we go from this point? What is our bias? That tends to be more on the technical side, along with maybe some of the upcoming binary events and risks that we have to work with, along with where should we expect reactions. For one, the most obvious place is that we are coming into a pretty notable weekly high. This was one that was set back in November of last year. The market turnaround has been part of the surprise element of this market. A lot of bears were kind of putting their risk relative to that particular pivot. And as we're starting to recover and ultimately press into it, that's going to be a notable point of technical interest moving forward. our expected move is actually placed outside. So that's when the expected move kind of boundaries become important. Something like 2 weeks ago, we were looking at maybe seeing a little bit more of an upper boundary into that region, but nothing was outside of those price pivots. So that's going to be one notable area to keep paying attention to and just to sort of mark into the rest of the week. But what sort of catalysts this week are we looking for? What are some of the drivers of our price volatility? And for simplicity's purpose, we can't ignore earnings. This is pretty much the heaviest earnings week from a market cap perspective that the S&P will be experiencing, along with sort of the variety of different sector exposures that this particular week has. Some notable names that kind of stand out. We're going to be seeing some of the oil earnings. Let me double check that real quick. That seems like a surprise to me, but that is correct. So we have the likes of Exxon tomorrow morning, McDonald's. So this would be sort of a consumer discretionary, oddly enough. People kind of think of sometimes that this might be like a consumer staple or some restaurant exposure, but McDonald's actually happens to be one of the larger consumer discretionary stocks. So that would be sort of in line with a Tesla and an Amazon, of course, with the industry being very different. UPS, getting a sense of some of the consumer spending habits and some of the shipping, exposures and numbers that are coming through this particular company, often paired with the likes of FedEx. These are highly cyclical type names, and their reactions tend to have some ripple effects that can be seen across the marketplace. We saw a lot of that last year with some of the slowdown in their projections, and some of their lower earnings reports were notable in the size of the gap down, along with the overall effect to the market. And then, of course, Caterpillar, once again, hitting the industrial sector here, but also looking at just things like government spending, which is becoming a little bit more of a focus item for certain areas and certain conglomerate tickers like defense spending, along with the sort of industrial economic expansion and some of the trying to think how to say it, like the infrastructure of the country. Caterpillar does not necessarily directly tie in, but there's going to be some secondary and tertiary effects coming from whether we're seeing higher or lower government spending. And of course, right now things are a little bit stalled out with the notable news. AMD, and then as I kind of move along, there's names kind of sprinkled all throughout this list, but pretty much everyone's going to be focused on what's occurring Thursday. This is, of course, after Wednesday, which is also a very notable session to be paying attention to. But we do have Apple, we have Alphabet, and we have Amazon. So Apple, once again, major tech. Alphabet going to be one of the strong sentiment players in the communication sector, which has actually been leading this entire month and actually providing a lot of market breadth and recovery into this rally. And then, of course, Amazon. We saw some sympathy with how Microsoft reported and the fact that Microsoft and Amazon both have cloud providing services. They're both cloud platform providers. But all in all, due to the fact that we saw the order flow in Microsoft lead to a recovery, essentially a gap down with no follow through, Amazon also could see some of that recovery strength. And then now we're actually looking at continuation on that particular name, a breakout, and some possible upside to about 105 to 109, depending on how you look at the technicals. So these are all names to not only pay attention to, but for the most part, they're showcasing strength. The whole marketplace is, as a index showcasing that the past month has been a lot of rotation, moving into, in this case, weaker sectors. That's where the monthly strength has been. There's been an underperformance in what used to be some of the strongest sectors, some of the more defensive slash sort of recessionary leading type sectors. And this was a theme that we were seeing near the end of 2022. So far, at least on a monthly performance, that has started to kind of give back some of that performance. And then, of course, in the middle, we're seeing things that are in line with the S&P and things like the Dow, performing well, having some upside, but of course, not really the most bullish or the most productive sectors to focus on. So, I would say this is a great time to be looking at the risk on sectors for volatility. As they get bid higher and higher, of course, the risk becomes a little bit higher, especially if we see any changes in the market sentiment. And last but not least, just looking at these defensive names, asking ourselves whether these are tops, starting to see a lot more distribution, or are they simply pullbacks? Are these things that eventually will come to be buying opportunities in the near to mid future as the market continues towards a sort of ominous recessionary path with some of our yield curve inversion? So now let's get into some of the details with how to think about this marketplace from a technical perspective. As I mentioned a couple weeks ago, pretty much everybody should and would have the very clear 2022 trend line from the S&P. It's a very simple trend line to observe because we're starting from the all-time high. We're swinging out, and the first anchor points that are met in 2022 somewhat define a channel, at least the top side of a pretty wide trading channel that we've been stuck inside of for an extended period of time. And as I mentioned before, the bearish reaction that we saw in November marked a bit of an anchor point for some market participants to essentially have their risks defined. You can think of voids in the marketplace as areas of the most risk exposure, simply because if you have price activity come above or below those types of levels, you can make very simple claims about what it has done to the perception of the marketplace. For example, if we were to simply look at a marketplace that could not clear a particular price level, what we can say moving forward is that so long as a bearish position exists near or slightly below this region, then as long as price continues down, those positions are what is known as protected or somewhat anchored to this area, because for the most part, a lot of stop losses will also be placed in this region. The unknown element of something like a breakout of the region, along with the fact that there is less price clarity and some of the price interaction that occurred in that region. Now, this is often going to be useful in trending markets, especially when you have very clear higher highs and higher lows, lower highs and lower lows, regardless of the market structure and how those highs and lows are set. You can often still specify that so long as X is true, a bear / a bull is protected. Even if they maybe missed that particular buy or sell point, that is where they should be thinking about the risk profile and where some of the change of character in a technical market would occur. Breaking structure and change of character, two very common terminology aspects of technical trading. So the question is, are we looking at a marketplace that is trying to change its character? Are we looking at something that was working last year, somewhat of a midterm position or some sort of sell swing area starting to crack. And the argument that I made 2 weeks ago was, while we did have a fairly decent sell swing, I was looking at a market ready to sort of violate a trend line. Not only did we have a weekly higher low, something akin to a higher time frame pullback, and the fact that we didn't necessarily have to go to a new fresh fear low in order to set that level, along with the fact that that sell swing sort of came from lower catalyst. The catalyst driving some of that price behavior wasn't as notable as we've seen last year, where we're talking about Federal Reserve policy sentiment changes and some of the really poor outlooking earnings that we saw back in March. And, those were the notable highs that were often being set. They actually had rationale and reason to their behavior. And as we can see, ever since that particular sell swing, as far as a trend line is concerned, we have a breach. This is not only a breach from a lot of perspectives, but on a weekly perspective, I would also call this a break. This particular trend line has a weekly candle closing outside. No matter how accurate your markings are, you should be seeing the first weekly close outside of this trend line. So that tells you a very important piece of information. One, this trend line can no longer behave in the way that it did historically. Even if the market were to fall back into this price region, and even if the market were to come in and test this area once again, this trend line has been essentially violated, and therefore should structurally start to corrode what it does to price. This is kind of the idea behind trend line breaks and breaches, and the fact that they come with a lot of energy to follow. As a bull, this is also a very notable change, because what we're seeing here is the potential reversal setup of a much larger market structure. The idea simply being that we're trying to essentially change the weekly and something as simple as a monthly higher low being established. Right now, we would have to, of course, clear that November high to know for sure that this particular low is set, essentially marking it as a pullback in some of the shorter term trends. So all of these structural changes are what the technical participants are observing and dealing with at this time. But one thing we'll do this week, probably not enough time in this particular session, we'll look at some examples of how longer term trend lines can be broken. We'll also look at the price reaction moving forward. There's one particular example that a lot of sort of bearish candidates and bearish participants are identifying, and we'll take a look at how price performed moving forward, along with some of the assumption and risk that you can take, whether or not this is something that is going to hold in the future, especially from a price perspective. So as we look at this particular reaction, we can start talking about some of the more obvious structures that may be in formation. And one thing that I've been hearing a lot more is this market's going to trade in a range. And what I often like to say is, that's a great assessment. Thank you so much. Where are the range levels? Because knowing a range is coming and not knowing where your levels are is one of the less useful items that we could have. But we certainly would want to start to think about risk, especially from range trading, and especially if we see those opportunities. Those are often going to be some of the highest risk to reward opportunities if the market is still trading in a larger range. So One of the easiest things we can do is keep to our higher time frames and simply note areas where breaking structure but not necessarily changing character took place. That's kind of why I was bringing up that particular note. One of the more obvious areas was back in June, or the June to August rally. What we saw was some of our pullback areas being broken, essentially leading some market participants to believe that a low was established and we wouldn't have to see any sort of additional testing at that point. Oftentimes some market participants simply don't look back as to where they came. They kind of think that that is one and done kind of opportunity, and range trading often subverts that expectation. So here's an area where there was a slight break of structure, but the character didn't change. We didn't really see a new uptrend moving forward. And actually, as we started to reject, this was that 200-day moving average rejection, the market, of course, came all the way back inside and even printed fresh lows. When we start to think about this entire price region, this has been a notable area for essentially 6 months. It's also true that these are notable levels historically, but we're going to take the moment just to look at them current, the current price levels. Marking this low and this high are often going to be useful for us, simply because we can start to see that the market is already showcasing range characteristics near these levels. This is one of the reasons why the October low was such a surprise. Market participants were expecting crash in this region. Fear was very, very high. These are some of the highest volatility and just overall sentiment readings that we saw last year. And it was not only because the bear market had been continuing for approximately 10 months at that time, but this was also a fresh low. So the fear was equivalent to periods like this, where the market saw anywhere from another 10 to 20% additional downside, simply because that's how some of the low-end breaches had performed before. These are, of course, sort of weekly highs and lows. So the market was fearful. And yet we know that we saw some very large characteristic changes in the market. Things like the dollar had topped out at that time. We were seeing rates start to showcase topping behavior as well. They weren't necessarily seeing significant downside, but some of the structure was starting to look very top heavy. And then, of course, we saw a little bit of new probabilistic modeling for the Fed target fund rate near the middle of this year, kind of expecting where does the Fed look to stop its rate hike cycle and what is that number. As long as the market kind of has that type of information, they can start to look ahead. They can start to become a little bit more forward looking, because a majority of the uncertainty in this period is being defined, if not probabilistically modeled. And that way, some of the pricing models can also take effect, of which is not always bullish, but it is a showcase to the resiliency of a market like this. Now, as we move forward, what we're starting to notice is if we start to enter into a bullish uptrend on a time frame such as this, arguably there's been some weekly rallies, and some of these weekly rallies have inside / single session, weekly session pullbacks. Some people will use these as their trend structure. For me, I like to see actual topping and then price pullback. In this case, this area I would deem as very classic looking / higher low structure, even if I am on the weekly time frame. So all of these components put together showcase not only where this market might want to push towards, and that would of course be a very obvious pivot high on the weekly, but we can also talk about some of the nuances of this area, because similar to the low, we often want to think about some of the risk that was encountered during this time frame. For one, there hasn't been a weekly close above this area since that particular close. And that's actually one of the reasons why this area was such a quote unquote trap, because the break of structure was led with a weekly close. This is the market indicating that they're accepting these price regions. There's no topping tail, there's no sort of spike high, there's no like petering out on some sort of distribution range. The market actually showcased continuation during this period, and it, of course, at the time probably knocked out a couple of bearish positions. But what is always interesting about this is just because we have that close, the following reaction is often going to determine whether or not this is a risk-defined area. Can we trust the previous pullbacks and use those as our supports? Of course, in this case, we saw that this entire area collapsed. You know, it essentially was the type of trap that we now know about the S&P. So as we move forward, one thing that I'm kind of highlighting here is this area indicates an area of risk. It's where a lot of bearish positions will not only be fully engulfed, but we'll start to probably see more stopping out, especially if price can breach into this area. So like most things, it's just an area that we know liquidity lives in. It's going to be contentious. And oftentimes, if we can get into those areas, we'll start to see the market move a little bit differently, often faster and usually with some different types of momentum. That doesn't negate the fact that we have another price region coming up, and it's somewhat identified by both the high and the last weekly close of August and pretty much the beginning of August. For range trading, I would sort of, speculate that these are going to be the main range regions for the S&P. This would, of course, require price to revisit the range high to kind of indicate that this is, yes, the top side of price risk. But once we get some of those characteristics, we can start talking about some of the larger accumulation and sort of technical structures that can form in ranges. Often, kind of highlight with participants like Wyckoff and Dalton. These are classic structures. They're price structures that often indicate not only changes in character, but how to trade a market moving forward, and some of the known and unknown risks through price that we can start to use to our advantage, both as stock traders, and then moving forward, even using some option strategies to earmark these levels and use them to put on some pretty high probability trades moving forward. So with all that said, my name is Jared. This is Engineering the Markets. Trade safe today. Have a sort of guarded bias this week as we have earnings, we have FOMC. We'll get into those details a bit more tomorrow, but also look at the market structure here. The technicals are changing. They're being led by new risk on type sectors, and barring any sort of massive shift that we see from some of these catalysts, this might have the type of continuation that some of these levels are identifying. So with all that said, we'll talk more tomorrow, and trade safe today.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to PreMarket Prep. I hope everyone's having an amazing morning. Hopefully, you guys had an incredible weekend. Good morning, Norm. How you doing today? Actually, I don't see Norm on. Oh, there it is. There you are. Didn't see your levels coming in. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. What's going on?
Oh, not much, my friend. Not much. Um, guys,
That's
let's get into it. But before we do that, big thumbs up to Jared for engineering the market every Monday through Thursday. So big thumbs up over on YouTube. Appreciate it very, very much. Um, let's get into some of the stuff that's on our gappers list this morning. At the moment, we see some stuff in the green. I'm not familiar with the first two, but I am with the third. That's Lucid. So we'll see what's happening there. And then the gap down list, we have a few tickers that we're very familiar with, and we'll see what's happening there as the market is slightly down this morning with some pretty good activity. So, Norm, let's go to the market pulse and kind of see latest and greatest for today and this week.
We've got no economic data today. The big thing, obviously, we're in earnings season, but the big thing, other than that, Fed meeting FOMC tomorrow, Wednesday. They will come out with a policy announcement. It is expected. They've kind of broadcast a 25 basis point hike, which is the smallest we've had in quite some time. As the economy begins to slow and signs of the economy slowing, they plan to ease off their increases that have been that having been said, the market kind of predicting a bit of a decrease in rates, which they're saying fervently that they're not going to do. So, yeah, it's let's get with it. It should be a good week. We've had a good rally since the beginning of the year. We'll see if it can hold. We've been through a few of these over the last 12 to 14 months. And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what this week brings. Definitely a lot going on this week, so looking forward to it. All right, guys, let's get to this gappers list. Let's see what we can pull off from here that can actually be decent to trade. Control A, Control X is going to clean our list here for us, and then we're going to go ahead and check what's going on with the gap up list. GMVD this morning, very very low flow, guys, 705,000, so extremely low flow. I don't have no other stuff loading for me. Okay, here we go. Here's the rest
it's
of the
an
information.
Israeli medical device maker that has some patent news out this morning, giving them a nice pop. So, um,
Hmm.
this is not for the faint of heart. Less than a million shares float could rip against you easily, very quickly. Be
Yeah,
careful.
yeah, yeah. I'm very careful, guys. Definitely in play. But again, be very careful. We'll put this in our risky pile for today. Pre-market action looks good, guys. Looks good, but again, can't stress enough how careful you have to be here. GNS also popping up 36% this morning. 10 million shares flow sitting on the American Stock Exchange, which I typically don't like. Norm, anything good happening here?
This is another lower float, as you mentioned. They have a spinoff going on. Singapore company. I don't know that I would mess with this one too much either.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm definitely not a big fan of stuff sitting in the American Stock Exchange. They just trade very different, very very different than on even the NYSE stock, which is not better than the Nasdaq for the way we trade. Let's go over to Lucid here, guys. So this is up 5.4 today. It's got some really good volume, 15 million shares traded so far. Had a great pop on Friday, so it looks like we're getting some at least activity continuation from what took place Friday here.
Yeah, there's news of some buyout interest from the
Mm,
Saudis. Popped them on Friday quite substantially.
yeah.
Came back off that a bit, but yeah, I mean, started at 9, went to 18, pulled back to 13. Now we're popping again. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah, definitely in play, guys. I mean, look at that is tons of volume, 208 million on Friday. And already this morning, that is, I'm sure it's probably the most volume they've seen pre-market, if ever, 15 million by 8:36 in the morning. So here it is, guys. Lucid in play today with that news. Here's Baidu. Baidu at the moment up 2.2. I don't really like Baidu in the way it trades. I think it's very light on volume. Spread is, not the best. So I'm not a fan of this one. I'm not sure it's gapping them up this morning, but
Well, Chinese search
mhm.
engine, and they are. There is talk that they're going to have. Remember, Microsoft took a big stake in Chat GPT. We
Yeah,
saw the spike there. the loss in Google, concerns about Bing integrating that and becoming a Google killer. Yeah, right. They've said that a lot. They're developing their own AI software, and that's supposed to be deployed here in the next few months. I believe I saw March or May. It was an M month.
Got it. So yeah, guys, Baidu here, doing a little something, but again, I'm not a big fan of it. I put it as a secondary because I know people will bring this one up, so we have it ready to look at. Let's take a look what's capping down. AC75 over on YouTube. No, actually, Lucid has news, right? So they have a news of possible bio. You probably just missed it when Norm mentioned it.
Doesn't mean the meme players aren't involved, but they do have substantial news or rumors of a buyout by the Saudis.
Yeah. And it's just the volume, guys. The volume on Friday, 208 million. I mean, that is massive. All right, let's take a look here for a stock that normally does 37. Let's take a look at Billy today. So Billy this morning, we are looking at a down 8% so far, 368,000. Billy has been gapping up or down quite a bit in the last 2-3 weeks. I have not really looked to see how they've been trading. So I've been keeping them off my list. Big drop today, Norm. Any specific news to them, or are you?
I've got which one are you talking about?
This is Billy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't see anything. Right? I don't see anything that exciting. So I don't know what's causing this. Somebody sees it, let me know.
Yeah, I do see that there are a couple of Chinese tickers down here. Bob is down 5.6, so maybe it's just overall Chinese stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about aside from the Chinese market overall, which we obviously have our fluctuations when they have policy and regulatory stuff, but I see nothing specific to them.
Yeah. I like the drop of 8%, guys, on Billy today. I'm going to put that on my list, and I'm definitely going to take a look at Baba finally dropping here and losing these levels that it's been trying to hold for the last 4 weeks. So let's see what's happening there. IQ, I'm not a big fan of. I think there's better stuff to trade, especially the stock trading around under $10, so not good there. PDD, same thing, could be very tough to trade. FU to you here, Futu, it's not looking good. Again, a lot of stuff gapping down on the Chinese side. I'm going to pick the Baba, which is probably the best trader in that sector. So we'll see what that does. But Billy does look good today, leading the way down 8% this morning. So nice drop for them. Here is Lee, same situation, I assume. XBEV, I'm assuming the same thing there also. So we'll skip on those. Let's take a look at AMC. So I have AMC here. We are down 3.3, 790,000 shares traded. I don't really see a great pre-market activity on this. I'm not sure if there's any catalyst worth watching it, or we're just kind of hanging around waiting for it to start memeing or something. But I'm not seeing anything great on it.
Yeah, I agree. This one's I don't even come close to this ticker.
So I agree.
It was fun back in the day. Now it's well past its prime.
Yeah. For fun is over here.
Like eating sushi that's been sticking out. That's been sitting around for a couple of weeks. No thanks.
Or buying it from a gas station.
You don't know. Don't do the gas station sushi, brother. Ruin your road trip for sure.
Exactly. TAL here, my friends. TAL is not a great trader. I'm going to skip on this. Again, all Chinese tickers are dropping down significantly here. So we'll see how that plays out. XBEV is on deck here as well. Not a whole lot of pre-market action on it. Here's A-Firm. A-Firm, decent day on Friday. This morning, they're down 2.4. But again, just not a whole lot of activity just yet. Again, they've been bouncing from 9 all the way to 15. So they had a nice run. Started back in looks like end of December into the end of this month. So we see that play out there. But this could just be an overall market movement, right? I don't see anything overly exciting with them this morning. Okay, here's one that maybe we might like, Nvidia. Nvidia is down 2.2, 481,000. And just look at the run they had the last couple of weeks. So that's looking good this morning. Here we go. Nvidia, going to add that to the list. All right, that's what I have so far here, guys. Norm, anything that sticks out for you that you want to watch?
Still looking. It's I got to tell you, it's really cold here. There's freezing rain. It has slowed me down. like a robot that its
Yeah.
gears are grinding over here. So I'm not used to that. No, I'm still looking Tesla.
Yeah.
But that's obvious. So I
hmm
almost didn't even want to mention it.
Yeah. It's Tesla is our AMD for Peter. That's what it is, right? That is Tesla. I mean, just a huge a pop on Friday, guys. I mean, this thing is just on a tear, bouncing. If you guys remember from 101, didn't quite get to 100, but pretty much there.
3 weeks
And
ago, this thing was half the price essentially. I
yeah,
mean, given my percentage is well off, I understand that, but
yeah,
$100, $101 to 180 in 3 weeks, 80%
un-
move, call it.
unreal, unreal how much this thing
Unbelievable.
has moved here. So
The rug will be pulled at some point. Just don't know when. Maybe it goes
I,
to 800 before that, but
dude, I believe
it'll
so
be
too.
interesting.
I believe that this thing is just you don't recover this quickly. So we'll see. We'll see. Tesla's a whole different animal, guys. It does its own thing. We know that the market could be completely flat, moving sideways, and this thing with no catalyst will be active and in play as it is today. Already 7.5 million shares traded, pretty much flat right now, but was in the red and climbing out of here. Just hitting the green in the last couple of minutes. So let's see if we can stay above that previous day close. Obviously, it's hitting some levels of great support there. Looking forward to Tesla today after such a big move on Friday. Let's see what it does. All right, guys, let's get over to our chat and see what you guys like today. I'm going to there's a few tickers I would throw in at the top. I'm not gonna go too far back, so I'll just start over here with Jeff P. FXI. FXI. What is this? I thought we saw there's an ETF. Yeah, I thought we saw
It's
this
a
last week
Chinese
too.
ETF, yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
think he
this
was just
is
talking about that because of the
the
what I
Chinese
was talking about
tickers.
China. Yeah,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
general, it's down.
So overall, everything down to 2%. I see Billy and Baba are my Chinese tickers for today. Billy down 8%, which is leading the way, and Baba is just a great ticker, guys. They've been ripping here on the last couple of weeks. Really, really nice. I mean, not even weeks. November is when they started, right? So, yeah, looking good there as far as activity. Let's look at SoFi. I see a couple of you guys throwing that out on both chats in our room here. Cam and also Jessica over on YouTube. Thank you. So here's SoFi. Let's see what's happening there this morning. Oh, no, it's nothing happening here this morning. What did you guys like on this? Just curious. Because there's no volume, right? Yeah, there's no volume. Is my information updated here? Or oh, no, hold on. I got the wrong ticker. Okay. I knew you guys wouldn't send me something like that. All right, that's a little better. Still not great. Up 8% right here. 8 million shares traded. I don't know why they have so much volume this morning. It's not really reflecting in their
I think they
activity.
huh?
Yeah, it's not really reflecting in their price
They had
action for 8
earnings this
million.
morning.
Ah, there we go. Um, Earnings, yeah, it could be in play. I don't like stuff under $15-10, but 8 million shares, it could be in play today. This stock, by the way, when the few times I looked at it, trades horrible. It barely moves, guys. It barely moves. I mean, if you can get 20 cents out of this, you're rocking and rolling, but it barely moves. It has a lot of volume. I know 34 million, 26, but it just doesn't move well. So it's not the same ticker we used to have when it was a higher price. It was a little bit better. Let's see. Put in a secondary for now, and we'll see if that can get going. All right, we have Rivian. Let's take a look at Rivian. I think Rivian falls within everything we've been talking about, right? With the EVs, but this one is not down actually. It's just starting to get into the red. Has a lot of shares here, 1 million shares traded. Unless there's any specific news, I'm not going to add them.
I mean, there's the news on
to the
Lucid,
list.
which my guess is that this is moving in sympathy to that.
Yeah,
Somebody praying that they buy them out.
gotcha. That can make sense. That can make a whole lot of sense. So, yeah, Lucid's the one in play today, guys. We'll see how if we can get some kind of action out of this one. Right now, it looks very, very good, very, very active this morning. Um, what else? Tesla we have on deck. That is good. SoFi, a so one there. Heading down the list. What else we have? Okay, that's basically it. How about on YouTube? We have Tesla. We have on deck, of course. GNS. We looked at GNS already. We didn't like that one, did we? GNS. No, yeah, it's in the American Stock Exchange, so be very careful with that one. All right, guys, that is what we have so far. Anything else? If not, we will head over to what do I think about? That's an ETF, I believe, right?
Which one?
XOXL,
Yeah,
XOXL. Yeah, it's an ETF.
that's the
So
semiconductors long leveraged ETF 3
yeah,
times.
I mean, this I don't. There's
You
not
can
much
trade it.
to. Yeah, you could trade it. There's not much to think about as far as what my thoughts are. I mean, this is just gonna move with whatever news comes out overall market on that in that sector in itself, right? Do we have we
Things
have
have been coming
AMD,
back a little bit.
right? We have AMD reporting this week, I believe, right? And did Nvidia report already?
Don't
I'm
believe
not.
so.
I don't think so, right? So we got a couple of these. Yeah, AMD's tomorrow after the close. So I see that there. Not sure when Nvidia is. Those are
Not
two of the
until
big
it's
ones.
got almost another month for Nvidia.
Yeah,
They're usually pretty late in the cycle.
yeah. Intel got crushed last week. You guys remember that? So we'll see. But for the most part, again, there's not much I have to think about in regards to that ETF and what it can do, right? Amazon. Let's see what Amazon is doing. Amazon also reporting this week. 876,000 pre-market activities. Okay, yeah, Amazon is good actually. It's got a decent daily. Let's take a look at Apple. Getting into our usual suspects here. Apple's again trying to get going since the beginning of the year. They had a beautiful run here, guys. 124 seems to be the low, up to 144 here. So they've been doing pretty well. Another good one to watch, 710,000 at the moment. All right, excellent, guys. Let's get to our community events and announcements. We will come back and fine tune this list. It's not a bad list so far. Pretty decent, but not great. I'm not overly excited on it right now, but let's see if that changes.
All right. Every Monday night, Onboarding Technology with Carlos, 8 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to check that out. That's open to all membership categories. So, especially if you're a new member, check that out. Very valuable to go get your feet wet in there. Tuesday nights, we have strategy. Tomorrow night, Megan at 8 p.m. talking about optimizing your performance to reach your trading goals. And then Brian the following week at 8, talking about trading the open and his strategies that he uses to do so. Wednesday, we have psychology. Dr. Kenneth Reed this Wednesday at 8 p.m. He's going to be talking about the book, The Best Loser Wins, and breaking that down, how you can use it to help your trading. And then next week, Kreda is going at 5 p.m. special time because of her time zone. She's going to be working on identifying your deepest fears in trading. Is she gonna talk about ending up in a ditch or what? I don't quite understand. should be good. Great is awesome. Mentorship, 11 a.m. with John on Thursday, 8 p.m. with Thor. TradingTerminal.com, where we are building out all kinds of tools for the active trader, many of which we spend thousands of dollars a year for. These are all being put in a central location for free. We've got scanners. We've got real-time simulator. We have the Insider, which this is just an awesome piece. If you could pull this up, Carlos, we'll chat about Insider for just a moment. This is the latest development that dropped last week. We have, pull up the live version if you would, and put it on the screen. We have everything. Retail trading at the top. You can see what retail traders are talking about, what's moving the markets as far as they go. And then which is that word cloud. The bigger the word, the more it's spoken about. The color dictates its sentiment. And then you've got politicians. As we know, the only insider trading that is done legally is by politicians, purchase and sales of stocks in there. And then institutions, big fund managers and everything else, the moves they're making. So you can look at that, get some trade ideas. All right. Don't forget, March 2nd and 3rd, the live trading summit in San Diego. Looking forward to seeing everybody there. 2-day event. It's a Thursday and a Friday. You can bring your family, bring them to dinner. You can get an extra dinner ticket to do so. Can't wait to see everybody there. And we'll have everything from live trading to strategy discussions, a panel discussion with all the mods. It's going to be an awesome event. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't been in the room, use the promo code PreMarket34 to get a discount off the intro membership. It'll give you 7 calendar days, 5 trading days in the room. And it was a one-time payment. And then also, if you'd like to become an elite member, gain access to all the webinars we discuss, use the promo code WINNER50 to get half off the elite annual membership.
All right. Thank you very much, Norm. Okay, guys, let's get to it here. Our list at the moment, we have Lucid, Billy, Baba, Nvidia, Tesla, and Amazon. So we'll do levels for these and we'll see what else comes out. We have Baidu here as a secondary, and I also have SoFi on deck as well. I see someone mentioning Ford. Ford's going negative, red. Oh, it is red for sure. They're down 2.5 already. So yeah, big, well, not a big drop. They don't move much, but they're definitely got something going on there.
If you're
All right,
looking
excellent.
for paint to watch dry.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys, let's get some levels in. Here's Lucid, guys. Very exciting ticker this morning. Started Friday already. The volume is pretty aggressive here at 16, almost 17 million. So as far as levels high, the pre-market 1479. So we will put a level right on there. And then towards the bottom, we do have the low of the pre-market at 1159. Heading to the left, you can see we have our high and low from Friday, which is, again, a massive candle from 9 to 18.
Doubled, yeah.
Yeah, it's just wild, right? So today we're getting
Be careful there, guys. Even though it's not low float,
treat it like
some
one
wild moves. Treat it as such.
Yeah. Where the price action is at right now, guys, again, there's a reason why that is flirting around there. You can see here on the daily, you got tons of action. You got a lot of support happening here. Let me change the color of this thing. I don't know like that. I can barely see it on the screen. So this is much better on the eyes. Here we go. So you got some support happening there, resistance, more support happening here as well. So I think that 1347, if you look at the pre-market now, you also see how much we've been flirting with this level here also. So definitely worth marking down. And we'll see how that's going to play out. Towards the bottom, you do have the previous day close low of the pre-market. But before we get to the low of the pre-market, there's a great area here of a lot of support down at around, this is 1231, which I'm going to, again, slam a level there as well, 1231, just in case we do head back down there. So tons of stuff happening here. The range from Friday is massive, as you can see. I don't think we're going to have that type of day unless more news comes out, with a confirmation that this is happening or not happening. That can really affect things. 1594 is another level towards the top that you should also note. You have a little bit of support and resistance happening there as well. If you're going to be trading this one, guys, we do have Squawk available over on tradingterminal.com. Highly recommend you have that running in the background just in case something is released on this. You're hopefully able to catch whether you're in there or not. You can be prepared with information. So definitely check that out. Next, we have Billy. Billy here, guys. We are down 8%, which, again, is leading the way. A lot of Chinese tickers down this morning. So if you see our gap up list, Billy is leading it by down 8%. Then you got the rest coming in. Baba, Futu, PDD, IQ, and the whole gang here is showing red for China. So low of the pre-market this morning over for Billy, we're showing 25.50. We'll put a level right on there. Towards the bottom, guys, 2305, another great area of support and resistance, more support than anything. And then towards the bottom of that, just in case, 2051. Towards the top, you're pretty much covered, guys. Highs and lows for the last 2 trading days. You are all set there. All right, let's take a look at Baba now. I like the drop on Baba here, guys. This is it's been holding above this 112.30 for a very long time, since the 9th. Today we're dropping down 6%, so that is looking very, very interesting. High of the pre-market only 112.45. Towards the bottom, very tight range as far as the high and the low of the pre-market. The low of the pre-market down at 111.06, right? So 111.06, you can see here on the daily how tight this range is. Has not really moved much. Once it gapped down, it just kind of went sideways. Typical Baba type pre-market activity. Hoping that this can get a breakout one way or the other. Right now, looking a little bit weak bias, but we'll see. 108.19 in case we continue to drop is the next best level on the daily. And then towards the top, guys, we do have an area around 115.33. That is where we found some resistance here. Kind of went sideways for a little bit, and then some more sideways action using that as support, that 115.33. So that is good for Baba there. Great volume, guys. 953,000. So that is looking pretty decent so far. Let's take a look at Nvidia. Nvidia and the semis, always fun to watch. Nvidia this morning, 508,000 shares traded. I'm going to mark down the low of the pre-market at 198.10. And then the high of the pre-market over at 201.90. So two levels there pretty much set for you. And this 201.90 so close to the highs from 2 days ago, 2 trading days ago. This would have been on Thursday. So it is really right on it. Aside from that, guys, we are smack in the middle of the highs and lows for the last 2 trading days. These two right on here, creating a good area of support and resistance. I do not think you need to add anything else. So I'm going to leave that just like that, nice and clean. Here we go. Here's Tesla this morning. Tesla, we have we got some nice activity as usual. 8.1 million shares traded, which is nothing new nowadays for Tesla. Low of the pre-market all the way down at 173.22, and the high of the pre-market over at 179.90, almost 180 there. So get some good movement so far. Monster day, as we Norman and I mentioned on Friday. I mean, this thing went from, guys, just look, 160 to basically 180. I mean, it's a $20 pop there. Just incredible. A reminder, you do not have to take a boatload of shares for Tesla. It can easily move $2 to $3 just by going sideways, right? So just keep that in mind. How much just by going
Apparently
sideways.
can easily move $20, Carlos.
Yeah, exactly. So very, very careful on the number of shares you take here, guys. Excellent. What else, guys? We have Amazon next. Amazon here, we're stuck between the highs and lows as well at the moment. I am going to mark down the low of the pre-market over at 124, and then we also have 101.96. That's looking pretty good there for Amazon. Above this, if we were to break out, we're getting into an interesting area too on Amazon. This is the gap we had back in it looks like October, end of October, beginning of November. We had this gap down here, so that could be interesting if we get into that. Not there was a significant gap down. Actually, no, it was, because it was from here all the way down here. We cover a lot the same day, but it was like significant gap down actually. We do have a level here. 105 is the next one if we can break out of the most recent highs here. And then obviously we have this 109.73. We're going to need a lot of help from the market to do that. That's not going to happen on its own. And I'm not aware that Amazon has anything individually going for them today. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Guys, that is our list so far. So we have Lucid, Billy, Baba, Nvidia, Tesla, and Amazon. All looking pretty decent this morning. Baidu on deck here, guys. I'm not a big fan of, but they have news. They're also gapping up. And then we have SoFi as well, which also is gapping up with great volume, 8.4. But again, I'm just not a big fan of the way this thing moves. I mean, just look, what's this? 40 cents here, which is not bad for a $5 stock, but I don't even like stocks under $15. So if you do, this could be one that you can take a look at today. All right, very good, my friends. Anything else that we're missing, guys? 9 o'clock, we can go over some stuff that you guys might have. News of price cuts on their EV for who? Trading NZ.
Rivian, I believe, but that's not the news that's moving it. The news that's moving that is the Saudi
it's Lucid, right? Yeah.
Investment takeover. If that happens, who cares if they cut prices? It'll become private essentially.
Yeah. So
that's the stronger catalyst.
Right. Here's a drop in a bit, guys. We'll see if it goes red this morning. For Ford. No, yeah, I don't know. Ford is only down 2.4. So it's not big move. And then I don't know how much this will affect Ford, to be honest, on their EVs. I just don't see how much it will affect this company.
What's that? Oh, I missed it.
The news of price cuts on the EV is for Ford that Trading NZ is talking about. So I guess Ford is doing that as well. Just not sure how much that will affect them. But we will
And
see.
remember, there's a big difference too in Ford, or not Ford, in Tesla cutting prices and others, especially Rivian. Tesla has some of the highest profit margins in the automotive business. They can
Yeah,
cut prices a little
yeah.
bit and they won't be hurt real bad. Rivian loses money.
Mm-hmm.
So price cuts for
Yeah,
them could be extremely painful. That having been said, I go back to my original statement. It's the takeover that matters.
yeah, yeah,
All of that is unimportant if somebody's going to offer you a, 50, 100% premium on your share price.
yeah. I agree 100%. Um, so yeah, so Lucis guys in play. Rivian, we'll see how it reacts today, right? We'll see how it reacts today. It's pretty much flat right now. But yeah, we will see. XPEF secondary. I think XPEF is it could be two things. It could be that, but also if you look here, guys, all Chinese tickers are down. So I think it's falling a little bit into that as well. I mean, you have Billy, Baba, you have PDD. Usually when all these start moving south, you usually have Neo, you usually have XPEF in this list as well. I don't see Neo on here. But I think that it could be a combination of two things. But uh, I notice the Chinese tickers move more when they're all moving down, regardless of what field they're in, right? They're all on here. You got Tau, you got all the ones that we usually see that get some significant volume are down today. So I think there's a bigger, it's a bigger play here as far as the Chinese tickers go. Meta, good range potential is by trends. Let's take a look at Meta here, my friends. Let's go ahead. Meta, man, look at this run. This wow, very very nice, guys. The stock just in November was sitting at 80, 87, 87. We're now at 150. In just a month or two, just in 2 months. Insane, insane. So so looking good here, guys. Down 1% this morning, 421,000. As far as the daily's definitely has been ripping. How has it been trading though? Intraday, had a good day on Friday. Very nice day on Friday. Thursday. Yeah, so Meta, although the pre-market has been non-existent for them, the intraday action has been really good, right? So, so don't put too much weight on this pre-market activity, which again does not look bad. Could be interesting, man. I mean, you would think they're extended, but every time they seem to be extended, they just keep going. So, I mean, they were extended here, small pullback continuation. They were definitely extended here, small pullback, and then consolidation, then continuation. So they just are finding a way to push higher, which is very nice here. So yeah, let's add them to the list. We'll do levels for these guys and see where they go from here. I love the pre-market 148.84. And then towards the top, you have plenty of stuff, highs and lows, and also the previous day close. I don't think you need to add anything. And same towards the bottom as well. So let's see. I like their pre-market activity. Definitely like their daily. We will see how the price action comes in today. Meta is good. Ford we looked at. Okay, excellent. I think we're pretty much set, guys. Wait for our moderators to throw out some of the lists that they have in play. I see Thor's coming in with his list already. We'll read that out in a second. So once we have more moderators on deck here, I think this is all we got. Carvana. What is this garbage up to? Carvana. Oh man. They're trying. They're definitely trying to get going here, guys. Down up 1.7 today, 583,000 shares traded. It's just so tough for them right now. So not really in play. I don't think it's a ticker that
Maybe the car
trades
vending
well.
machines will be helped to solve the societal problem of homelessness. And you'll be driving down the highway next year when Carvana goes bankrupt and their vending machines will be full of
Just
people instead of cars.
yeah, yeah. Oh man, this is nuts. But yeah, it's wild, guys. Wild, wild. Tesla showing some weakness at 180. Yeah. Well, I mean, you have one bounce, right? So I don't know if it's showing a lot of weakness. It's got to be tested a couple of times for it to make it a stronger resistance level. But depends what time frame you're looking at. Now I do see at around 180, we have this noted here. There's a big level here of support that was support that held as long as it could, that can now become big resistance, right? And Tesla is definitely extended as far as technicals go. But Tesla is a stock, as we mentioned, that does its own thing. Sometimes
Don't make that
technicals,
your decisions.
yeah, technicals don't matter on
It
this
was
thing.
extended 3 days ago. It's worth
Yeah,
60
exactly.
bucks.
Exactly. So it's you just can't go off for that. Earnings came out
I
well
don't
for
even
them.
said I'm short
You're sure of this thing? Nice. Um,
from
you
way
know,
up there, though. I'm like 10 cents off the high. I got a lucky pick.
you picked off the top nicely there. Excellent,
Yeah,
excellent.
179.80.
Yeah, yeah, sweet, man. So we'll see. We'll see. This thing is and it's tough to trade. It really is tough to trade at times. What's our thoughts on Microsoft to the downside? Let's take a look at Microsoft. I know they were not having too much fun on earnings. Recovered quite nicely though, right? And we're basically back to where we were trading before the gap down here. There's not a lot of information here on which way it's going to go right now. It can go down and retest these levels here, especially this one. It's a big level for Microsoft right over here at a 242 on the daily at least, right? A lot of support, a lot of resistance, more resistance here. Most recently, couldn't get above that until Thursday. So it can come back and retest that. But again, guys, these big companies are doing whatever this guy's doing. Once they report, right? Once they report, they do their thing with either gap up or down. Unless they have any specific news, they go back to doing whatever the overall market is doing, right? We've been seeing that with these tickers that do not have their own catalyst. Obviously, today, for example, you got Lucid, you got a lot of Chinese tickers with their own catalyst this morning. They're down quite a bit. And then the rest of these, for the most part, are just moving with the oil market, except Tesla. Tesla does its own thing, right? So we have Amazon here, we have Meta, we have Nvidia, and see how the market is going to treat them today, right? So to answer your question on Microsoft, really can go either way, and I tend to want to watch something that's going to get a little more volume, like an Apple. Did we even look at Apple today? We
I don't
didn't.
think you have. It hasn't been that
No.
great recently.
Yeah, yeah. So here's Apple. Has a good pre-market activity, but this one for me most likely is going to trade better than Microsoft, right? So I'd rather watch something like this on my list. Um, CLF, CL equals F down. Not sure what that means. Are you saying the CLF ticker? No, not referring to that. Baidu. I have Baidu on a secondary here, guys. Just because I personally don't like to trade this one. I don't like the way this trades. It's on my list of Intel, Foot Locker, and all these other ones, SQ, that they could be trading well. They could be looking well as far as the pre-market action daily, but their price action is funky. If you look at Intel, we had a tough time with Intel last week, right? And we do every quarter. Well, I didn't because I didn't touch it. We had a
Tough
tough time
trader,
with these guys.
man.
Yeah.
Intel's a tough trader when it's super in play.
Right, right. And this right here, I don't give them credit for this because the overall market just started going crazy, right? So they just moved with the overall market. But before that, the price action here was just horrible. Complete fake outs on the breakouts, back and forth. It's just so messy. So messy. Um, and now after Friday, I think this goes back to their normal trading activity, which is very, very crappy, very light on volume. So I don't think this is going to be in play until another 3 months from now, if anything. AMD, AMD 1.3. Yeah, AMD's not in play right now. I like Nvidia a little bit better. Um, but maybe later AMD can get going. We'll have to wait for the market open. But at the moment, not doing a whole lot. Jeff, I do agree with you though. If the market reverses, yeah, Nvidia looks good because it's been struggling, right? I'm sorry, AMD. It's been struggling here at 75. It's having a hard time getting above that. Unlike Nvidia's been on a tear. Nvidia's actually been ripping higher and higher. AMD's kind of stuck here. So yeah, if you got some weakness coming in, this can help it drive down a little bit here. So yeah, this whole entire area here, it just doesn't like to stay above this. We saw this in November and December as well. It struggled to get above this 70, what is it, 75.50. The few times it did, quickly it comes right below that. So yeah, I agree with you. If we do have a drop, it looks very nice for us to take it for a short. More on a range trade to the upside, 77. 08, 77, 08. Yeah, if it can get going. Yeah. Yep. All right, guys, we are set. We have Mike, we have Thor. We'll wait for a few more moderators to throw out their list, and then we will take a look at what's happening there. Guys, over on YouTube, thank you so much for watching here. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so already. We appreciate it. We're sitting at 130 likes, 129. And there we go, 130, 131. If we can get to, I promise I'm not gonna call them all out to 200, but if we could get to 200, 250 to start the week, that is a great number to keep me and Norm motivated. So yes, let's do that. Let's get to 200, 250 plus. That'd be amazing. Thank you, guys. Let's see here. Store we are thinking of okay, some support S3, R3, very nice. Sweet, guys. Sweet. Guys, quick reminder, tradingterminal.com. Let me take you there. We talked about this earlier, but we want to show you guys what's going on here. I want you, Norman's going to walk you through quite a bit of the stuff we have here.
Yeah, I mean, if you just start from the top in the nav bar, we got a couple of minutes here. Overview, really cool. You can see advancing, declining throughout the day. Good to get a kind of a pulse of the market, see overall what people are thinking. Of course, you've got the indices across the top of different stuff, and then gappers. All right, and then earnings calendar, self-explanatory, but you've got a graphical interface of that. You can also get dividends, IPOs, economic data across the top, depending on what you click. If you scroll down right there, Carlos, you can also actually get a little bit more deep into the data. It'll talk to you about their timing and with the moon or the sun, and it'll talk about the symbol, market cap, other things. Simulator, that is the replay simulator. We hope at some point to have a real-time simulator, so stay tuned. But yeah, you can practice trading, hone your trading skills there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then if you go back, Carlos, scanners, of course, we use those. A lot of people pay a lot of money for scanners, but you can use those for free. Insider, which we've already gone through today and talked pretty much in depth, but everything from retail traders and what they're feeling to, you can see filings by politicians and money managers. Of course, news and the squawk. So you've got the text news if you click news on the left, and then the squawk with the play button at the top. Academy, where if you have especially specific things, I know there's some really good courses in there guys have. Yeah, so we'll go through the rest of it maybe tomorrow. We're running out of time here, running short on time, but that's a good chunk of what you're going to find in there. Good stuff.
Yeah, take advantage, guys. A lot of great information on there, and we're constantly adding things and making it better. So all right, excellent. Let's get to our moderators list here. I see Brian's got his list out perfect. And remember, guys, after 9:15 already, time's just crept up on us there. Remember, right after Norm and I, Brian is going to come in, so we will switch over to the chat room. We're going to stay live for a little bit longer over on YouTube, so you can hang out and see how Brian prepares for the day. Here is the moderators list. Let me get you this over here. And actually, what I'm going to do is, instead of trying to resize this, I'm just going to flip to the screen. There we go. All right, so here we are, guys. So at the moment we have Thor watching Tesla, SPY, QQQ's, Meta, and Lucid. We have Mike looking at Tesla, Meta, and Nvidia. Brian looking at Tesla, Nvidia, Meta, BABA, and GNS for fun. Again, that's the low flow that's very active. Alongside also GMVD, guys, another low flow that's up 105 right now. Paris is looking at Tesla, Lucid, BABA, Amazon, and Apple. So that is our list. This is what the chat room looks like, guys. If you want to join us, you can do so for an intro membership for 7 days, $34. Use PreMarket24 if you're on YouTube.
34.
34, excuse me. What did I say? Did I say 24?
Yep.
Oh, been saying it for so long. 34, $34, guys. And then here you can, come hang out with the team, hang out with the members of the community, and see what it's all about. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We are all set. I'm going to switch over to Brian. He's going to come on the mic now, and you can see what he likes this morning. So far, for me, we have Lucid, Billy, BABA, Nvidia. There's Brian, Tesla, Amazon, and Meta. Guys, trade safe. I'm going to switch over to Brian.
Take care, guys. Trade safe.
Yo, good morning, everybody. And Carlos and Norm.
Good morning. Hope you had a good weekend. All right.
So kind of interesting morning right now. Of course, we got some news over the weekend affecting some of the chip stocks. And I thought the China stocks were going to be up because there was some pretty positive news, economic news. On the reopening in China. A lot of people spending money, but wasn't enough to goose things, except for Baidu for some reason is up. Tesla's still in the green. See, pretty much everything else is pretty reddish to me, except for an ETF that's bearish on natural gas, which continues to get whacked. Just when you think a bottom's in. All right. Yeah, reddish. Yeah, everything's reddish with spots of green. It's my master watch list. So TNS is could be interesting. It's been in play for a while, so you have to be careful with that. Let's just see. Just give me a sec. I'll be right back.
All right, guys, I'll hang out with you while Brian returns over on YouTube. Thank you guys for the likes. Appreciate it. Melanie, Jack, Column, Arrow, thank you guys. Rashish, my analysis on the SPX. So, I mean, it's, it can really go either way, guys. The overall market, many people feel, I think more people feel the bottom is not in, right? So, if the bottom is not in, we're going to expect more downside. And there's a small group or maybe the same, maybe it's 50-50 now because people tend to get a little more positive, more bullish when we're in a bullish situation like we are now as far as the last couple of days, right? They tend to not change their mind, but feel like, okay, become a little more confident in the market. So it might be 50-50. I don't know. I was thinking about this over the weekend and last week. I don't really know how I feel. Is this the bottom or not? And I couldn't answer that. I mean, I'm 50-50, I have to say. So I can't give you a good answer on what, if this is the bottom or not. I do know, the time frame that you're looking at also plays an important part. You look at a weekly here, and you can see, okay, this looks good for a bottom, right? Can we come and retest? Maybe. Right, you look at a monthly and it's like, okay, this is just a small pullback. So a lot of it depends on that and what you're looking to do. Looks like Brian is coming back, guys. So here his headphones. I'll continue with him. Thanks.
Okay, sorry about that. I had to deal with something. So we've got, I'm just looking at some of the other price action here on the Qs and the SPY. Kind of seem to be a bit choppy right now. And so what am I looking for? I'm looking at Nvidia, possible rising devil, which means it might come up to the VWAP and sell off more. At the open, Baba, I was kind of looking at it as a rising devil, but it's now trading above the VWAP. Lucid is bouncing off PDC. So just looking for some setups here before we get going. Before the opening bell. We've still got better part of 8 minutes, more than 8 minutes left. So usually the last couple of minutes are kind of the tell as to which direction some stocks are going to go here. That's interesting. This company, I've got a few shares they took over the weekend. AI, it kind of looks interesting. It might do well again today. right, Bob is popping a bit here. Let's just see how it goes into the open.
All right. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
All right. So the market is gapping down. Apple, Tesla is interesting. Tesla is still strong, even the market is gapping down. Tesla has held it. I'm actually very, very heavy short on Tesla. We sold calls at 210 and 220 for the end of this week. So hopefully it doesn't go higher. I think. Is there any other things? Nvidia, Meta. What's Meta thing? It's Meta earning this week. So this week is going to be amazing for earnings.
Yeah, a third of the S&P report this week.
What a week.
What a week.
What a week is going to be.
Qs continue to look a little weak here as we get closer to the open. Bob is moving up a bit.
No, John, well, first of all, Rafsila, welcome to San Diego. I saw that you signed up today. What I did was last Friday, during the end of the day, we right around this pop that we had around 180. So I sold calls at 210 and 220 right there in the afternoon. And after just picked that drop, I was up like a lot on it. But let's see how it's going to do. I mean, I thought that, another 20% in 1 week might be a little bit unreasonable. So I sold those calls and actually collected really, really good premium on them.
Nice.
We'll see how it goes. So these are the options. Selling call. When you're selling calls, means that you're essentially shorting the stock, because if your calls are getting hit, you are kind of
or you're basically hoping the price never gets to the price that you shorted them at. That way you just keep you get to keep the premium when the calls expire.
Yeah. But it's a little secret between us, guys. Don't tell Ardi that I did so. Again, it's a little bit secret that we have sometimes in the chat. He doesn't know that again. I told a lot that I got that email from that famous email from Interactive Brokers, priority normal margin equity reminder that while it's maintained by compliance, you're only 10% into their margin call. You get that email. You know that, huh? When you are really too much into this mess, there's an email that comes from Interactive Brokers that it's very polite. While your account compliance, margin
in compliance.
Still, in compliance, you are 10% less than.
Yeah,
I got that. Margin pre-com.
Baba's popping here. Interesting.
All right, so Baba. Oh, Baba down 5%. Why?
I think it's because of this announcement about the chips, that some more restrictions on shipping chips to China, like the high-end chips, which is why Nvidia is down.
So today we have NXPI. What's the premium before?
Right.
So we had a couple of nonsense ones, like FSR. Yeah, we had a couple of Mehwan tomorrow. We have a couple of good AMDs tomorrow. Very nice. ExxonMobil is tomorrow. So many train terminals. We have a lot of really good ones tomorrow. McDonald's is there. And obviously Thursday, the big ones are Wednesday and Thursday.
The big ones are Thursday afternoon. Amazon, Apple. We're probably, what are we going to do here? Are we going to buy the dip again? kind of feels like that.
So buying frenzy, huh?
Kind of feels like it. We'll see. We shall see.
We should see. So, I mean, if Tesla stays on the long opening range break up, so we can do the opening range break up here. Not a problem. It seems that it's strong. Again, market is gapping down, but Tesla is above the VWAP, so that is good.
Wouldn't be surprised to see it sell a little bit at the open. But it might just pop. Meta's dropping now. Bob is pulling back. What time is it? Okay, so now we've got 2 minutes to the open. I'm liking Baba. Baba looks like it's like they're buying it. Of all the setups here. Yeah, I think Tesla might drop a little at the open. Not to say that it's going to really sell off, but yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to be watching Baba and Tesla mostly. Ooh, Meta's really selling off here. Interesting.
I'm watching Tesla mostly. I saw Excel is doing nothing. Microsoft is doing nothing. I have an eye on TQ. GNS is running off.
Yeah. Well, Tesla really hasn't done much of anything really in the last since sort of 8:30. So.
All right, so just want to say goodbye to YouTube folks. Thanks, guys, for joining.
Adios, amigos.